There's been a lot of discussion about whether or not cartooning and satire is under threat in South Africa today. And one of the main reasons for that was because of the lawsuits that were mounted against Zapero, who is our leading cartoonist in South Africa today, by Jacob Zuma, who was at that stage head of the ANC. And there's also been talk about a resolution passed at Polokwane to investigate the possibility of a media tribunal. And it appears that one of the things that made people very upset in the sort of top ANC circles was the shower head mechanism, which was placed on the head of the cartoon Zuma caricature. And people were asking the questions, how can we get rid of this thing? In response to that, I think the concerns that have been raised are valid. And we have to be very, very careful about making sure that we observe the extent to which what I call the jester's space, the space that society traditionally, especially modern industrial societies, have traditionally set aside a space for jesters, cartoonists, comedians, political humorous columnists, to critique and mock and satirize and ridicule people in power, and in so doing hold them to account. Since 1994, with the establishment of our new constitution and particularly our Bill of Rights in South Africa, we have had a very robust situation whereby freedom of expression has been respected, and a lot of satirists and cartoonists have taken advantage of that freedom of expression entrenched in our constitution to push the boundaries of satire in South Africa. Now, with a new ruling elite in South Africa, there is a tendency to say, well, do we really want to be exposed to this amount of mockery and satire? What about our dignity and things like that? Well, my view is that that politicians have to roll with the punches. If they try and close down the justice space, it's actually going to end up affecting our democracy. And it's not going to be in the interests of the ruling party to do that. I think the ANC has a tradition of freedom of expression, but of course with freedom comes responsibility. Any cartoonist that you talk to will mention the fact that freedom has to be, there's no such thing as total perfect freedom. Freedom has to be exercised responsibly. And I think the debate that is happening now in South Africa around freedom of expression, particularly relating to cartooning, is an important one, because we are establishing precedents that we'll take forward into the future.
I really appreciate that the freedom part is really being underlined, because we need that to function as cartoonists. You need to put ink the way you want to put it, and then send it tomorrow and have it shown. Freedom for cartoonists is very important. I mean, when I go to work in the morning, like any other cartoonist, they need to know that the idea they have will be appreciated and will be respected and given a chance so that the public can see it. And if you're drawing someone as a baboon just because you think they look like one, you have to really specify, what does a baboon do? Why is he a baboon in a specific thing? Because, I mean, they've drawn George Bush as a baboon too. And they were making a point. But I'm not defending that issue. I mean, if someone really wants to ridicule and go racial, they will use that, and it's totally not acceptable. That's self-censorship. If you see this thing is in bad taste yourself, you self-censor yourself and say, okay, no, I can't do this, it's too much. Or you can keep it for your private collection. But also, we work with editors. There's a group of us. I'm black, but I speak Zulu and Xhosa and Tswana fluently. I respect black people but I try, when I go to work, I try to put away the race card, because I'm not doing cartoons for black people only. If maybe I was working for a different kind of audience. See, here I'm working in South Africa. It's for South African people. If I'd have to say I'm a pro-black cartoonist, that would limit my work big time. I mean, I wouldn't be able to say what I want to say, because I'd be saying, okay, I have a black audience. Sure, the majority is black, but the way I represent them with dignity and exactly where they are. I make sure that, okay, I respect their position. With Zapero, I respect him as a cartoonist, but he lives to push boundaries and really test untested waters, uncharted territories, and see what people will do, their response. The way I say it, I don't see it as a white arrogance. He tried to make a point, and luckily enough, he got through the firewalls and all that stuff. So to me, that cartoon was not as offensive of a black or white issue as it is, because all the people in the cartoon were black. Even the Lady Justice was black. But only from people that know that Zapiro is a white guy, maybe they can put that in and say, okay, he's disrespecting our president. Cartoonists, their basis is for laughter. It's for making a point. It's symbolism. What I try to do, I have a lot of respect for my president, for my politicians. All of them. DA or ID, all of them. I respect them. But I have to bring them into account and probe them and provoke them so that they can stand up for what they're doing, and be accountable.